Your self-worth is literally the one thing that changes everything. The one thing that changes everything. And so often we think, whether it's in relationships, that we need to, do all the work to understand every detail of them to make them stronger. And that's true. That stuff really, really helps to understand at a granular level, how do you become a great friend or a great partner in a relationship? And all of that work's important. But underneath it all, if you don't also do the work of self-worth, of believing you're worthy of great friendships, of great relationships, then you will always sabotage them, or you will always do something to either never go for them, to never ask the person, do you want to be friends, and invest in that friendship as an adult, or you'll never tell the person you want to be more than friends in the relationship, or you somehow will hold back from showing up as the person you can be in that relationship if underneath it all you don't believe you're worthy of a really, really great relationship. We'll sabotage it. We'll either never go for it, or in some other way we'll make sure it cools down to the level of our self-worth. Similarly in business, in your career, your ambitions, the business you're launching out there into the world. So often we think, I just don't have enough experience yet, or I don't have, the right skill set yet, or the right connections, or the right mentor, all those kind of things. At the end of the day, when deep down inside you believe you're worthy of launching the business, of taking that business to new heights, of being an incredible leader, an incredible CEO, incredible boss, right? It's only by believing you're worthy of it that you'll literally go to that level. This is the one thing that literally changes everything. And so it is important to invest in building a skill set and building attributes and strengths and experiences and all of that. But the most important thing is to build strong self-worth underneath all of it, so that you have the foundation of your own identity. So there's a classic example that has been used for a zillion years in personal development, and it correlates your identity to the example of a thermostat, right? So you probably have heard this example, but it's important when you look at it through the lens of self-worth. So you may have heard a number of thought leaders talk about how we all have our own internal thermostat, right? That's like an automatic one. When you imagine walking into a room, maybe in your house or your office right now, maybe you have an automatic thermostat on the wall, and if you have it set at 75 degrees, and if all of a sudden things heat up in that room, what happens? That thermostat kicks in, lowers the temperature back down, right, to 75. Meanwhile, if things just get freezing cold in that room, it's gonna kick in and raise the temperature back up to 75. And so the classic example that so many thought leaders have shared is really applicable when it comes to self-worth and your identity. Because let's say you set your self-worth, you believe you're worthy, you believe you're worth 75. Okay, that's the level of your self-worth. That's your identity right now, deep internal identity. Well, then when things go really, really right in your business or your relationships or your friendships or your goals and dreams, and all of a sudden it's on fire, it's a 90, but underneath it you only believe you're worthy of 75, your thermostat kicks in. It sabotages the relationship. It doesn't call that person back. It doesn't show up and put your ideas out into the world. You work less hard, procrastination, feeling stuck. And before you know it, that 95 is back down to a 75. Similarly, if things are just going awful and they're really bad, they're down there to 50, when you believe you're a 75, you'll figure out, okay, what moves do I need to make? What efforts do I need to put in to get back up to that 75? Here's the thing, and I talk about this, I go deep in the master class inside of Worthy on how do you take that number, that 75 and raise it. How do you raise your internal level of identity and self-worth? Because you will not soar to the level of your goals and dreams. You will stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. It is the one thing that truly transforms everything in your life. And the book, which you can pre-order now, you get lots of bonuses with it. There's over 20 tools in this book, which is why I wrote it, because in my life, there are so many things where I didn't realize, why did I stay stuck? Why did I sabotage that thing? Why didn't I go to the next level? Like when I know in my soul I can. right? It's because when we don't believe we're worthy of it, woo, every day, all day, we will sabotage it. We will stay stuck. We won't go for it because we have our level of identity right there at a 75. You know what I mean? And so if you can relate to this, the very first step is just become aware. Today, all I want you to do, in addition to ordering Worthy, because we're going to go through a lot of trainings together on how to do this as well, but I deep dive into it. But the trainings are part of a bonus when you grab it, when you pre-order the book. But what I really want you to do right now too is just become aware of it. Just become aware and be like, what do I believe my own internal identity is around self-worth? And how does that manifest in my life? What have I sabotaged? And think about all the areas of your life. What areas have I stayed stuck in and I don't know why? Like maybe you know you have a book inside of you or an idea and you don't know why you haven't written it. Or you have this big idea you want to share in that, team meeting tomorrow. And every time there's an opportunity, you don't share it. Because we will not rise to the level of our goals and dreams. We will stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. So for now, just start to think about the areas of your life and how this impacts it. I love you. I believe in you. And by the way, the best thing is we can raise that number. I know it because I've done it. We can raise that number. Okay? That is the most exciting part.
When we have low self-worth, it can still look like everything's great on the outside, right? There are people that are crushing it in every area of life and they are not fulfilled and they don't know why. Or they're really unhappy or they don't believe they're worthy of things and they don't know why. And they're still just striving to be enough. So when we have low self-worth, what it looks like is we feel stuck and we don't know why. We believe that we are smart and have all this skill set and we maybe have worked really, really hard. We've studied all this stuff, but we're stuck. We feel stuck and we're not going for it. And we don't know why. And that's how self-worth will show up in our lives. And it could be in your career. It could be that you are an artist and you write poetry or you paint and you still haven't shared it with the world and you don't know why. It could look like you have an amazing idea and you've been developing a plan to launch a business around it, but you keep spending 8 hours a day scrolling Instagram and you don't know why. You're procrastinating and you don't know why. When we don't believe we are worthy of something, we will find a way to stay stuck and to not go for it at all, which is why building self-worth is so important. Now, there's a lot of us that have medium level self-worth, right? Medium or even medium high. What that looks like is we go for things. We go for them, we go for them, but then we'll sabotage them along the way. Or we'll hit a plateau. We'll build our business to be 6 figures or 7 figures. And we hit a plateau and we don't realize it's because we actually at an identity level don't believe we're worthy of going above that. We'll be a CEO crushing it and hitting numbers in our company, but we won't share our real ideas that could take it to the next level because we don't want to take a risk because we don't quite feel worthy of it. That's what that looks like. And then a lot of us that have medium to high self-worth, right? What that looks like is I keep achieving everything, but I still don't feel I'm enough. I still miss fulfillment. I still feel like something's missing. So I'm just going to keep hustling, working harder and harder and harder and harder and harder. You and I are people that have so many dreams and goals and huge ambitions. And a lot of our friends do, a lot of our people we've been so blessed to meet do. One of the biggest lies, and I want to just tackle this real fast, people have is, if I feel like I'm enough as I am, and I'm fully worthy as I am, which you are, but if I feel I'm fully worthy as I am, maybe I'll lose my ambition and maybe I'll lose my drive. I don't want that. I like feeling like I'm never enough, so I work harder and harder. It is the biggest lie. When you feel fully worthy, exactly as you are, it does not kill your ambition. It actually fuels it because now you don't worry anymore if you fail. Because it's not tied to your self-worth. You are rock solid enough as you are. So you actually, when you have strong self-worth, you actually take more risks. You actually have more ambition. The difference is when you achieve those things and when you serve and give and create and offer everything that's in your soul to the world, you're actually fulfilled when you do it because you feel deep down inside enough as who you are. Whether you're someone who is stuck and you don't know why, or you're someone who's crushing the world's definition of success and you don't know why you're not fulfilled, and you don't know why you still feel like it's not enough or you're not enough, it's almost always because of self-worth and learning how to raise that underneath it all.
Literally, I was going to ask you because I have like these two sides to me. One where it's like, I love the idea of you being perfect just the way you are. Like the amount of like things you can let go of, all the stress and the worry of, am I pretty enough? Do I look good enough? Am I smart enough? All of that, right? I understand it. Like it really does allow you to let go. But then the other side, that if you're enough and you're smart enough and everything, what does propel you to go for more? What does then propel you to improve, to build better skill sets? I'm not even going to say to achieve higher things. I'm just going to say to build better skill sets in whatever. And you just answered it, because that's the disconnect sometimes that I think about and I worry about in myself, that if I think that, no, Lisa, you're perfect the way you are, then I won't keep going. And so I kind of, I liken it to, like I just have like these dual people in my head, and I've got like the one voice in my head that's like, I love you, Lisa, you're good enough. And I go, come on, what the fuck are you doing? You know, on the other side of my brain screaming at me.
And you need both. This is the thing, you need both for fulfillment, right? To feel you are enough, worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are, and also to be growing and building self-confidence and contributing. For ultimate fulfillment, you need all that. And the biggest challenge is that most people only do the stuff where they're growing and building confidence, but underneath they don't feel enough as they are. And that's when you can do all of it and never feel fulfilled and not know why. How many people have six-pack abs, have business that are crushing it, they're doing all the things, they're on the cover of magazines, they have 50 billion followers, and they still don't feel enough, right? So they're actually not able to enjoy any of the stuff that they're doing or to feel fulfillment. You know, so that's like the one thing, is building that sense of worthiness, that you are enough exactly as you are, and you're worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. You're able to then enjoy it. And you also know, you know what, if I put myself out there and I fall flat on my face, you know, it might hurt my confidence, but doesn't hurt my worth.
Dude, that's so strong. I mean, I wrote a whole book about confidence, and it never really, like I said in the book multiple times, like confidence is a muscle. It like, you have to build it, and then also it can ebb and flow. It's not like you always have the confidence. And so when I read your book and that worthy piece, I was like, oh my God, that's the underlying, the foundation to then be able to build your confidence. But if you don't actually believe in yourself and have the worth, then you're not going to go for it. Because let's say you've started It Cosmetics, right? And you've gone out and you've had a million rejections, but you've got one that you actually think the deal's going to come through. So you spent 3 years, you and your husband, like saving every penny, building the company, really sacrificing, and then you go to this one guy and you think the deal is done, the dreams come true. And if you don't mind sharing that story of what he says to you, because this goes to that moment again. I am obsessed with this movie, Sliding Doors. Have you ever seen it, with Gwyneth Paltrow? So it's my audience heard me speak about it 1,000 times, but it's a story where she's about to board the underground, the tube, and she makes the tube, and then it cuts to a moment and it repeats where she's running for the underground and she doesn't make the tube. And these are the two paths. And you literally, throughout the whole movie, see her life going in completely opposite directions, just by making the door or not making the door. And when I think about the story that you're about to share, that moment of these two paths, where it's like, one leads you to selling it to L'Oreal for 1.2 billion, and the other one leaves you on the floor crying and never making anything of yourself.
Yes. Yeah, the moments that define our destiny, right? And how we handle those moments, right? It's how we handle those moments. And, you know, so the one particular rejection that you're talking about, the story out of thousands of rejections, by the way, anybody today right now who's feeling rejected, or like they're facing setbacks or any of those things, like they are never an indication of your potential for success. They are not. And the key is to never let anyone else's doubts about you turn into doubts about yourself in your own head. That is everything. Like, how we handle those moments, it's not if they're going to happen or not, it's how we handle them, right? And like, what are the tools in our toolbox to pull out and decide how we're going to handle those moments can change everything, right? And so in this one example, we had faced, oh my gosh, years of rejection. We were down to no money. I didn't know how we were going to make it as a company. Everyone kept saying no, and that they didn't think the business was going to work and all this. And I finally got a meeting with a potential investor who's really well-known, private equity company. They're very famous for taking like a lot of small unknown brands, turning them into these big companies that all of us shop for in the grocery store or big box retailers or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, if they invest in us, because they gotten a hold of our product and really liked it. I was like, if they invest in us, like, it's going to be life-changing. Like, A, we're not going to go bankrupt. B, maybe they can use their power to get me into all these retail stores that keep telling me no, like all this stuff, right? I was like, this is huge. And so we started taking meetings and meeting after meeting after meeting. It got to the final meeting. We had lawyers involved. We were in the diligence phase, which meant they were going to acquire the business or invest a big stake. And it got down to the final meeting where I was presenting the whole product pipeline. And at the very end of the meeting, like I thought this was going to be the moment, like my saving grace, right? And the head guy was about 3 feet from me. And then his whole team was behind him and they were awesome. And he says to me, like, congratulations, you should be so proud. This is a really, really great product, but we've decided it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in IT Cosmetics. Now, this was years of hundreds and hundreds of no's in. I was hoping this would be the one. And he says that to me. And I say, okay, can you tell me why? Because feedback is usually a gift. And I said, can you tell me why? And he just got really quiet. And he's standing about 3 feet from me. And he says, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I was like, yes, please. And then he just paused for the longest time. And I remember I started feeling my heartbeat in my ears because like I didn't know what he was going to say. And then he says these words to me. I remember the moment his mouth started opening and he says, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. And when he said those words to me, I actually never felt any anger toward him. But what happened instantly was like a lifetime of self-doubt and body doubt, like flooded my body all at once. So I actually felt when he was saying these words, like I was staring my own fear straight in the eye. But the moment he said those words, I got this feeling deep down inside. I'll never forget this feeling in my gut, like my knowing, right? Not my head. My head was like lifetime of self-doubt, body doubt, I'm not enough, all that, right? But the moment he said those words to me, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. I got this strong feeling in my gut that said, he's wrong. He's wrong. Like I felt it. Didn't know how I was going to prove it, but I felt it. Right now, Lisa, 89% of girls and women will opt out of meaningful activities with friends, with family, in public because they don't like how they look.
89%?
89%.
Holy shit.
So there is a whole chapter in here about do not wait on your weight to live your best life. I do not care what your weight is, but do not wait on your weight to live your best life. I think back to so many times in my life before I learned how to build self-worth when I waited on my weight to go on the date, to get in the photo, to attend the reunion. So many of us do this. And it's like, the time for change has come. It is why I wrote Worthy. No girl, no woman, no person left behind. 89% of us opt out of meaningful activities because we don't like how we look. What has this cost us in our life? In our relationships, in our friendships, in our joy, in our fulfillment. So in the moment this investor tells me this, and I go cry, in the next 6 years, there are moments that come to me where I'm like, okay, well, maybe I do just need to change my weight. All those things, right? But I know that's a lie. I know it in my soul. I know it in my soul. And so when we talk briefly about like the 4 R's and reframing rejection, you know, in this case, every time his words would come to my mind where he's like, I don't believe women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight. That rejection was really painful for me. And I would reframe it and redefine it with a new definition of, okay, rejection's God's protection. Rejection's God's protection, right? For some of us, it'll be rejections, the universe's protection. And I don't know how yet, but I chose to believe it. I chose to redefine that rejection and every other one to something I believe was true so that I was not fearful of future rejections. And so even after that painful rejection, every time those words would echo back in my mind, I would instantly, like literally intercept them, replace them with, oh, no. Rejection is God's protection. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen because God has got me. And yeah, that dude didn't believe in me, but you know what? I know it's protection. I don't know how yet. And I just kept going and kept going. And 6 years later, the day L'Oreal bought our company for $1.2 billion cash, the day we had over 1,000 employees, the day we had finally become number one in a bunch of the retailer stores we were in that had said no for years.
The day you became the very first female CEO, baby, of L'Oreal.
Yeah, first, yeah. And they're a public company. And so they did, they announced the purchase price, right? And then that I was the first female CEO of a brand in their 100+ year history. But I did not know they were going to announce the purchase price. I think I had friends and family that thought maybe business is doing well, but they didn't know, like nobody, you know what I mean? Those aren't things you just, and the day they announced the deal, it was everywhere, homepage of the Wall Street Journal. And that was the first day I heard from that guy in over 6 years. And he said, the potential investor, right? And he says, congratulations on the L'Oreal deal. I was wrong. And in that moment, you know the movie Pretty Woman?
Yes.
You know the movie Pretty Woman where she goes in the store and they won't help her?
Right? Yeah.
They won't help her. And then she goes back in a few days later. So what I wanted to say to him was, big mistake. Huge. And I wanted to go even further and go, I can give you 1.2 billion reasons why. It was a huge mistake. But I didn't say that. I kept it really, really classy because I didn't want to be him at that day. But here's what's wild, and this is why I go into reframing rejection so deeply and worthy, because so many of us have had rejection or failure in our life, and it's so painful that it keeps us stuck. And at worst, we think we're a failure, and it becomes an identity level thing. So I go deep into how do you actually reframe it. And what I want to say is that, you know, I had been telling myself for years, rejection is God's protection, around why this guy rejected me that time. And at that moment, 6 years later, when we sold to L'Oreal, what I realized is, oh my goodness, like, had he believed in me back then, I was so desperate. I probably would have given him the majority of the company for like no money. I just want to stay alive. Like, I didn't know how we were going to make it. But because he didn't believe in me, the day we sold to L'Oreal, we were the largest shareholders. And it was like, thank God he didn't believe. Rejection's God's protection. Like, these things we know in our soul are true. And it's about how do we build that muscle, to use your words, how do we build that muscle and that skill set that when these things are happening to us, the setbacks, the rejections, the things that don't go our way, that we pull those tools out of the toolbox and we apply them right then and there. Okay, in this case, rejection's God's protection, and we believe it. Like, how do we apply those tools, trusting that they're right and they're true? Because that's how we build resiliency. That's how we raise our self-worth. That's how we keep going for things. That's how we don't let setbacks hold us back. Like, we believe, okay, this is a setback, but I know most setbacks are setups for what I'm called to do next. Like, I'm going to have a faith in that universe. And it's not just about, oh, let me think positive. It's like, oh, let me believe that in my soul. Let me believe this new reframe in my soul, because it is true. Like, when you check in with your soul, again, I said this earlier, every person listening to us right now, yes, your confidence can be tied to your skills and abilities, your willingness to try and go for it, how you feel you stack up against other people. You know, there's studies that show the boxer who wins the match is automatically 30% more confident afterwards, right? Our confidence rises and falls. But underneath that strong self-worth, separate from confidence, which is very important, your self-worth, this is just what I want everyone to know right now, is right now, as you are, I do not care if you are like me and you waitressed in a strip club and you waitressed at Denny's and you were doubting yourself out of your own destiny and you thought love was confused with attention and you thought significance was an external praise, was being confused with success and all those things, right? You thought achievement was being confused with belonging. I don't care where you're at, what past mistakes, what failures, I do not care. I don't care who you've hurt and you regret. I mean, how many mistakes you've made. Like, right now, exactly as you are fully worthy. Nobody can give it to you or take it away. Like, you just are. And I believe, Lisa, that the greatest journey we're on in this lifetime is learning how to believe and embrace that. Because when we do, we are unstoppable. That's when we are unstoppable. That is when we are in alignment with our assignment. That is when we walk into our calling. That is when we stop doubting ourselves out of our own destiny. When we believe we are worthy, it changes everything for the better in our lives. For so many of us, we feel stuck, or we feel like, oh, I don't have what it takes to accomplish my dreams, or to find love again, or to have healthy friendships as an adult. And we tell ourselves all these lies that lead to self-doubt, because literally, Lisa, like, we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. So when you change your self-worth, you change every aspect of your life. And the beautiful thing is, it does not matter where you come from. It does not matter if you have waitressed at a strip club like me. It does not matter if you have, worked hard waitressing tables at Denny's like I have, or if you've built $1 billion business like I have. None of that actually matters. Like, you're fully worthy exactly as you are. And when we learn to unlearn those lies that lead to self-doubt and literally wake up our worthiness, it's the one thing that will change everything in our life.
Jamie, I would love for you to share. I know you have 22 things in your book. Could you share maybe 3 things that can help people start to build a feeling or a real sense of their worthiness, right now?
Yeah. So the very most important is just be aware, like, oh my gosh, this is an issue. I don't feel enough. And I thought by achieving more, I would feel enough. And to realize that's actually a lie is big. And so just being aware of also just how self-worth shows up in every area of your life. And then making the decision, and this is especially big for women and for men. So here's the challenge for women and for men when it comes to self-worth. Men think it's a women's issue. But when you look at the data, like 73% of men feel inadequate, unworthy, and like they're not enough. And then women think building strong self-worth and self-love is selfish. And it could not be any farther from the truth. So those 2 things are really important to overcome. When you're a man, typically you think, oh, that's for someone else, when really the majority of men struggle with this. And you'll see it everywhere. You can look at a number of successful men in business and leadership and politics. It doesn't matter. When they have a fundamental self-worth issue, you see how it manifests everywhere. And you'll sabotage things and everything else. This impacts business, and impacts leadership in every area. And for women, there's this lie that we believe, we can take care of everyone else and love on everyone else, but self-love or self-worth is selfish. And that is such an important lie to unlearn, because when you look at all the data and all the studies, they show we're only able to, the depth of love and connection, true love and connection, not do we show up for someone and try to meet their needs, but the actual depth of love and connection we have with another human being can only ever be as deep as the depth of love and connection we have with ourselves. And so many women in particular have kind of just believed this lie that self-love or self-worth is selfish, and that, they just need to be here to love everyone else. The greatest act of love for everyone around you who you care about is to learn to build your own self-worth. Because in doing that, you give an example to every girl, every person, everyone else that you love and care about how to do that for themselves. Your ability to believe you are worthy is a direct reflection and example to them that they also are worthy of feeling worthy. So that's a big thing. And then 3 quick things you can do. So the redefining rejection and failure is a big one, because a lot of us have let labels stick to us, that instead of just, again, thinking, oh, I've made past mistakes, I've done bad things, I've failed, we think I'm a mistake, I'm bad, I'm a failure. And learning how to replace that is a big one. The next one is a really, really easy one to start building our internal self-worth. Okay, which one do I want to dive in first? There's a whole section on 5 self-worth shortcuts in a chapter called Do You See You? And it's about how so many of us live disassociated. We're running around people pleasing for everyone else, taking care of everyone else, and we actually don't even know who we are, how we feel. We're not even tapped into all of that. And so it's a chapter about how to connect with yourself. And one of the self-worth shortcuts in there is, well, let me see, which one do I'll try to dive into 3 really fast because you can start doing them right now. But there is a saying, a famous saying, that we don't see things as they are, We see things as we are, which is why, hurt people, or people that are always seeing the, things as negative, they don't see the beautiful rose. They see the stem with all the thorns and complain there's too many thorns, because that's how their reflection of themselves inside is being projected on what they see outside. And so there's that famous saying, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. The reverse can also be true. And what I mean by that is, if you're somebody that you struggle to see the good in yourself, you struggle to see your own self-worth, maybe on a daily basis, the things you say to yourself about yourself are not so loving and positive. And for a lot of people, that's the case if we actually pay attention to our thoughts. It's so important to recognize that and to just decide the reverse is true, which means instead of saying people don't see things as they are, they see them as they are. You can also say that you can see yourself as things are. And what that means, try not to make it confusing, what that means is, if you have struggled to see the beauty and the goodness and the worth in yourself, start by intentionally seeing the beauty and the good and the worth in all of the things around you. Because when we've seen the things we perceive as wrong with us over and over and over and over, right? We carve deep neural pathways, and to try and reverse them, when you start seeing the good and the positive in every single thing around you, and I'm talking about simple things, Josh, like when you wake up in the morning, just taking a moment, being like, wow, I have clean, dry sheets. How blessed am I? Wow, feel the softness of this pillow. Like when we're washing dishes, this is going to sound a ridiculous example, but we're washing dishes, like, wow, I have like the suds of the soap and the sponge. I have clean water. Like, how cool is this that the soap just gets the food right off the plate? Like, these are simple things, but when we start focusing on the good, the beauty in things around us, before you know it, you build patterns and habits, and you cannot help but start to notice the good things within you and the worth within you. And it's one very simple step to try and retrain what you focus on and what you see, because a lot of people struggle to see the good inside of them. And I just want to call this out quickly that, you look at the studies on negativity bias and how some of them say, like, you need, for every one negative thing you read online or every one negative interaction, you need 4 positive interactions just to have a neutral space. When we think, especially for women, by the way, when we think about the things we tell ourselves about ourselves, most of us are not saying 4 positive things for every one negative thing just to stay neutral, right? And so really intentionally working on reversing that is really a big thing. The second thing is, the second shortcut to self-worth is, when you're struggling to see your own worth, focus on your own intentions. I think most people feel that they're a good person and that they have good intentions. And we believe at our core that people with good intentions are worthy. And so when we start to pay attention, not to our perceived flaws or this or that or whatever, but when we actually focus on our own good intentions and acknowledge them every day, it actually starts to slowly build your self-worth, because at our core, we have that belief that people are deserving of good things, who have good intentions. People with good intentions are worthy. One of my favorite for anyone who has strong faith, this is one of my favorite things. For me, I'm Christian. I pray. I have a relationship with Jesus. It's been a whole lifelong thing of building it. And one day, Josh, I had this moment where I realized, okay, wait a minute. I say I believe God's word. I say I'm made in his image and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But then why, when I'm about to walk into a room, I feel like I'm not enough, like I don't belong? And what I realize is, wait a minute, who am I actually doubting? Am I doubting myself? No, I'm actually trusting my own thoughts and I'm doubting God's word. And for me, this has been, and for anyone who practices faith in their life, I think this is one of the most powerful self-worth hacks, really, is making the decision at any moment when you're tempted to hear your own doubt and your own negative thoughts and all of that, to intercept them in that moment and say, wait a minute, what does God say about me? Who does God say I am? If God was sitting here looking at me face to face, who would he tell me I am? Would he tell me how I'm made? Would he tell me I belong in this room, that I'm fully equipped and all of it, right? And I intercept it and I make the decision to trust God's word over my own thoughts. And I literally will say to myself when I'm tempted to feel like I don't belong, or even walking into this interview with you, Josh, if I'm tempted to think thoughts like I got nothing to offer, what if no one cares about Worthy the book? What if, like, all those thoughts will come into my head, right? Which is the human part of us. But that self-doubt that is not where God lives. And I will literally go, who am I going to doubt? Because if I'm doubting myself, what I'm really doing is trusting my thoughts, doubting God's word. And there's a whole chapter in Worthy, the book, called Who Are You Doubting? Like, who are you really doubting in those words? And it's how to make the decision in any moment to trust God's word over your own self-doubt. And it's an instant reminder of your own worth, of your own identity. Like, every time I'm about to walk in a room where I'm tempted to feel like I don't belong, like, I literally intentionally will remember who's walking in with me and whose I am and who I am. And so trusting God's word and that you believe what you say you believe is one of my favorite ways to instantly remind yourself of who you are and build that self-worth back up.
Well, I love that you shared that. And I think that obviously that's a powerful, I know for me, being a person, a very similar person of faith, it's that I, being able to focus primarily on what God says about me, right? That I'm beloved, that I'm his child, that he's a purpose for my life. So all those things. And so I think those are really, really powerful, really, really powerful things to meditate on and to make part of our identities and our story. And I love so much that you shared that.
I would like to go back to when you're a Denny's waitress. You wrote a book called Worthy. Are you at Denny's feeling worthy, or what are you feeling like?
Yeah, that's the thing. I wrote Worthy because, first of all, our self-worth is our ceiling, right? So many of us, like, we think, oh, I just need more skill set. I need to work harder. And all those things are important, but our self-worth is our ceiling. I didn't know that for a long time. And what I know now, like, you want to double your business, double your self-worth. You want to double your success, double your self-worth. And for a long time, I didn't realize that, really in life, like, we don't necessarily rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And so when I was in my days waitressing tables at Denny's, I literally remember moments where I'd look around and think, like, I could run this, have those kind of thoughts, but then my self-doubt would get really, really, really loud. And so, a lot of people maybe Google my story and they see, like, oh, Denny's waitress builds $1 billion company, but my real story is like, and that happened, yes. And I'm so proud of it. And learned so many tactical tools and takeaways I'm so happy to share and dive into. But my real journey, I'm more proud of than that, is like going from a girl who really didn't believe in myself most of my life, to learning how to believe in myself and learning how to believe I'm worthy, of the hopes and dreams I have. And I think that's the biggest thing, like, for anyone listening, is so important that we know what we want and why we want it, and then take action and do all the things. But at the end of the day, like, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. And that's in life, in our business, and our goals, and our dreams. So when we raise our self-worth, we change everything. Because if we don't, like, we literally, so many people sabotage things, stay stuck, or doubt themselves out of their own destiny because their self-doubt gets so loud. So
maybe before we go further, maybe talking about before Denny's, what was your childhood like, and maybe why did you not feel worthy?
Yeah, I think, well, what's wild is you look at the data right now. So, like, as the three of us are talking, 80% of women don't believe they're enough, and 73% of men feel inadequate and not enough. And it's wild because we're so good at hiding. A lot of people are really, really good at hiding it. And it's funny, I was just talking with Ed Milet, who loves the two of you, who was so excited for me to come on the show because he loves both of you. And he was saying, right now, despite in his life having private jets, huge companies with success, all the things going on externally, which brings him a lot of confidence, he still struggles to believe he's enough. And it's sort of this lifelong journey, because when we don't underneath it all believe we're enough, we can achieve everything and build all this self-confidence, but we'll never feel fulfilled when we do it. And a lot of people think, well, if I feel like I'm enough as I am, will I lose my edge? Will I stop, will I become less ambitious? It's actually the opposite. Like when you feel super, super enough, like strong self-worth as you are, you actually become more fearless because okay, if I fall flat on my face, if I fail, if I have setbacks, like it might shake my self-confidence a little bit, which is largely based on the external, but like I'm unshakable inside. And it helps you become more fearless. And so growing up, I think, what I will say, so in Worthy, there's I covered 20 different tools on how to build unshakable self-worth. And a lot of them are lies that so many of us need to unlearn. And one of the lies, which I think comes from my childhood, to answer your question, I grew up believing that achievement equaled love, or that I needed to achieve to be enough, and sort of like confusing achievement with love.
Did that come from your parents, or did that come from a teacher, or where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I think so. So two things. I think universally, so many of us are raised even just seeing like advertisements and this and that, and they're great, or well-intended people in our lives that are like, all they ask about is your job, or how's your job going? How's your work going? Are you married yet? Do you have kids? And we start to learn that if we get good answers to those things, then we've got their stamp of approval. Like then we're enough. Then, and so that's there. And then a lot of us work so hard to finally get these big goals that we think will make us feel enough, and we arrive at them and still feel like something's missing, and still feel like, so then we just keep hustling harder. And it becomes this never-ending, perpetual thing, which is what Ed and I have both experienced for decades of our life, where we keep achieving the next level and the next level and the next level. And to give you like a real tangible example, because for everyone listening to us right now, if they're like, oh, I'm super confident, I'm super successful, I kind of feel like I'm not enough, or it's not enough, but I think I just got to work harder. It's actually a self-worth issue, because a lot of people will give up on marriages. They think something's missing in their marriage when really they don't feel enough as who they are.
100% go off on that. I totally agree with that.
It's such a thing.
Yeah, they want someone else to fill up their cup, but what you got to realize is it's an inside job. You got to fill up your own cup.
Exactly. And so the number of marriages that end, or the number of people that think, oh, I just need to quit my job and go to another one, or this or that, I don't have the fulfillment I need. And they think that the enoughness needs to come from the outside. And that's a self-worth thing. So 3 ways, like for anyone listening, like if they are like, wait a minute, do I need worthy? Like, do I feel enough? Is this really a thing? Because I think I'm crushing it on the outside. The 3 main ways that like self-worth become big issues in our life. If we have low self-worth, and this is for everybody listening, if we have low self-worth, it often looks like we're stuck. Like we're stuck, meaning, oh, we have a crazy, amazing business idea, or we have a book we want to write, or we have, we don't want to be alone and we want to be in a relationship, but we literally are stuck and we don't know why. We don't get on the dating app. We don't submit the manuscript or even start writing it. We don't register the domain for our business. And a lot of people think like, oh, I'm stuck because I just need to get more experience or more skill sets. It's like, no, actually, underneath it all, you don't believe you're worthy of the thing. And when you don't believe you're worthy of it, like your self-worth will become your ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, which a lot of people do, this is me most of my life, even after selling my company for over $1 billion cash, I was very confident. I had high confidence. I was crushing it on the Forbes, all these things. I didn't know that self-confidence, which fluctuates based on external things, if we're winning or losing, our skill sets and abilities, is different than self-worth. Self-worth is like the deep internal knowing that you are enough and worthy exactly as you are. And that self-worth level is our ceiling. And so when we have low to medium self-worth, we can be, crushing it and doing all these kind of things, but we still hit ceilings and we sabotage them. We'll sabotage opportunities. We'll write the whole manuscript, but then not submit it. We'll hit 6 figures in our business, but not 7 figures, and we don't know why. We'll have, really wild ideas to put like our talent and offerings out in the world, but we'll scroll Instagram for 8 hours a day. We'll hit a ceiling and we'll sabotage. We'll meet an amazing potential partner, and then we'll be like, I don't know why, but I just am not attracted to them. And we put them in the friend zone. And it's because underneath it all, we don't believe we're worthy of the thing, so we'll sabotage it.
Do you think that this is all perpetuated from childhood? Because we've had, funny this week, we've had a lot of people come on here who are very successful that have said something that their mom or dad or teacher said to them that replays in their head. I'll give like an example. Someone came on and said that their father said, "You'll never amount to anything."
Janice Dickinson came on.
And she's in her 60s now.
Yeah.
And she still replays, "You'll never amount to anything," still to this day. Is there something that you can pinpoint when you were a little girl that was playing in your head for you to sell your company for the amount you did and still not feel worthy?
Yes. Okay. I would love if you guys have a few minutes too to actually go through this exercise where everyone listening can actually do that in their head to know what it is for them. Because here's the thing, some of us have a parent that said something, or we have someone that's in the school play yard that said it. For Ed Milet, for example, I don't know why I keep bringing him up, but he's like our mutual friend. For him, it was he remembers the moment when he was like pro level in baseball and sabotaged it. Like we have these moments that become these that take root in our identity. For a lot of people, they've had failures or rejections that instead of thinking I failed or was rejected, they let it take root and think I'm a failure, I'm a reject. We all have different moments. And while some of us, like the one you shared with Janice, we have a parental figure that said something, for most of us, it's us telling ourselves the thing and believing it. So like part of why I wrote Worthy is to unlearn all the lies that lead to self-doubt and ignite the truths that wake up worthiness. And one example that I'll share with you, and then I'll take everyone through how to do it because they can listen to us live and be like, oh wow, this is a thing in my own life. It was after I had sold my business, my whole life. I sat there as a little girl watching Oprah and dreaming of one day meeting her. I was home alone a lot as a little girl, and I would watch her interviews, and I was like, oh, and that was my mentor from afar my entire life. And after all the years of sort of working hard to pay my way through school and finally get into what I thought was my dream job, which was anchoring the news. And then I took a detour and launched It Cosmetics. What a lot of people don't know is that was a wild story. It was years and years and years and years of rejections, teetering on bankruptcy, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections, and learning how to overcome those and not quit, and eventually turning that business into $1 billion company. And through all of that, I built a whole lot of self-confidence. I am in my 30s, about to turn 40, and I meet Oprah for the first time, which is my lifelong dream. Then she invites me to lunch.
Did you know you were going to meet her, or was it just okay.
Total at an event backstage in her green room? It was a whole thing, and I thought at best it'll be 2 seconds on a step and repeat wall, but it ended up being this sort of private one-on-one meeting. It was just a couple minutes backstage at her event, and after it, I wrote her an email. She invited me over for lunch. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole thing. So I go to her house. Now
it's a big lunch.
And for anyone, it is a big lunch. For everyone listening, if you've ever been in a great place in your life, you're crushing it, all these things, that was me in that moment. I didn't know there was a huge difference between being self-confident but not having self-worth. And I learned it the hard way in this moment. This is really a defining moment for me. And I think a lot of people will connect with this, no matter what their circumstances are, because we've all sabotaged stuff and not known why. But I go to her house for lunch, and I'm like, but I'm really confident. I'm crushing it. The Forbes list had just got all these things. And we have a 3-hour lunch. And at the very end of it, she hands me her cell phone number. And she's like, you can call me anytime. Call me anytime. And I left there, and I did not call her for 4 years. Literally my lifelong, like didn't call her for 4 years. And in that 4-year window, I told myself stories like, oh, I just need to think of the right thing to say. Like, I just got to come up with the right thing to say, then I'll call her. Or, oh, like people probably want stuff from her. Like, I'm going to prove I don't need anything. I'm not going to call her. I told myself all these stories until one day I realized, it hit me like out of the blue, like, I'm not calling her because deep down inside, I don't believe I'm worthy of being her friend. And that was the day where I was like, oh, wow. And that was the moment where two things, like every one of us, our thoughts, which are in our head and tell us self-doubt all day long, are not who we are, but they're so loud. Like our thoughts are so loud. And that's, our head is where self-doubt lives. And our soul, our knowing, our truth, whether someone believes in God and prays and hears God that way, or meditates and gets still, or believes the universe has your back, or all of those things, our soul is where, like, we know the truth. And I remember that day, like that moment of knowing that was a lie, like knowing I'm a kick-ass friend. Like, I am a ride or die kick-ass friend. Like, Oprah or anyone else would be so lucky to be my friend. And I know that is the truth. And in that moment, I remember like imagining myself turning down the volume on my thoughts or my self-doubt, and like turning up the volume on that knowing that knows I am enough. And that was the day I picked up the phone and called her. And that's also the day I became obsessed with studying self-worth and understanding like, oh, wow, if just like me in that day, so many of us can have a lot of self-confidence. We could have put in the reps, like all the things. But if underneath it all, we don't believe we're enough, we will still sabotage stuff, whether it is a relationship we don't think we're worthy of, whether it is our business going to the next level, whether it's a health and fitness goal, it could, or having great friendships, it could be any of it. And so that's really for me, probably the pivotal moment on how I realized, okay, in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of.
What did you say to Oprah when you called her?
Okay, so the first time I called, she didn't answer. I'm like, 4 years, and she didn't answer.
I'm not a big answer phoner either. Though.
I'm not either. I'm totally not either. And then we've talked since. We ended up teaching a class this last year, and now
she's on your podcast and you're on hers.
Yeah. So
when she heard this story, did she say anything to you about it? Was she like, why didn't you call?
Yeah, she understands it clear. She's so clear about it. And she, her big thing is exactly that. Like, she'll say, you can work so hard. You can even believe something's possible. But if you don't believe you're worthy of it, she says it in the way of, it will not come.
What was the hardest moment when you questioned your self-worth, and what became of that, or how did you overcome it? Was there a specific moment that really, where you questioned your own self-worth?
Yeah. And what I'll say too is it is a daily thing. It's a daily thing. It's a lifelong journey. One moment, Jim, that I'll share, and I'm so honored, by the way, to be part of the Quick Success Book Club. I am so honored. We're going to deliver so much value. Like, I'm just so excited. And this is just going to be success elevating. Like, it's going to be success elevating, because here's the moment I'm going to pick, because we talk about success and we talk about being limitless. Mm-hmm. Okay. I was at a moment in my life. Let me just preface this. My entire life, from the time I was a little girl, a lot of us have childhood heroes. Like, for some people, it's Superman. For other people, like whoever it might be. And growing up, I was alone a lot in my living room when I'd watch Oprah. And so for me, I always dreamed as a little girl of meeting her one day. I dared to believe it was possible, and inspired my career of going into journalism, all of that. Like, this was my dream. That was my superhero growing up. Fast forward, I'm 39 years old, and I get the chance to meet her. And I want to preface this for everyone who is real passionate about success in their life. At this moment in time, I'm 39. I had all of this success. I had just, oh my gosh, like, I was so confident, Jim. I had just sold my business for $1.2 billion cash that I'd started in my living room. L'Oreal made me the first woman to hold a CEO title in their 100+ year history. All these things were happening. The Forbes list, all these things that were like, wow. I was very confident, but I did not know that I did not have a lot of self-worth, and that there's a big difference. And you want to know what happened? I met her. I then sent her a letter after, through a series of like, I go granularly on how this happened and how I overcame it in Worthy in the book. Eventually she invited me to lunch at her home. I went for a 3-hour lunch, one-on-one, just me and Oprah. And at the end, and it couldn't have gone better. And remember, I was really, really confident, but I actually deep down inside didn't believe I was enough. And at the very end of the lunch, she gave me her cell phone number and she said, call me anytime. You can call me anytime. And Jim, I did not call her for 4 years. For 4 years. 4 years. And I thought I knew. I would tell myself reasons why, like, oh, I just need the perfect thing to say, then I'll call her. Or, oh, I'm going to prove I don't need anything from her. You know, everyone wants things from her. Like I told myself these stories, and wow. 4 years went by and I realized the real reason was that deep down inside, even though I was so confident and had all of a certain measure of success, deep down inside, I didn't believe I was worthy of being her friend. And our self-worth is our ceiling, whether it is in our personal relationships, our friendships, our business, our level of success that we get to. And that was the day when I called her. I picked up the phone and called her 4 years later. And also it's when I realized, oh my gosh, there's a huge difference between self-worth and self-confidence. And they're both very important and very valuable, and they're very different. And that's when I became obsessed with studying self-worth and how do you build it. And that's why I wrote the book Worthy, because our self-worth is our ceiling. And when now I've taught a course with her. Now she's the very first guest on my show that I'm watching, the Jamie Kern Lima show. She's my very first guest. But how this would have never happened. I was so close to doubting myself out of my own destiny. And I have done that many other times. And so for anybody who is like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doubting myself out of in my life? Like, you can build skill sets, which is so important and valuable. And you also have to believe you are worthy of it and build that self-worth at the identity level. Because wherever you go, whatever you achieve, you still take you with you. So I achieved a whole lot of worldly success and business success. And yet I was sitting there with Oprah, still taking the not enough, doubting myself, Jamie, with me. Yeah. And that is what shifted when I learned how to believe I'm enough and build that self-worth. So that would be one moment. Just one of
just
many.
One. I love it. This conversation really is just a reminder for everyone that you matter, that you are enough, that your presence in the world, it makes a difference whether you see it or not. You can always improve. We can always be better. But remember this, that you are enough, not because you did or said or bought or thought or became or created something special.
Let's set the stage first, okay? Because there's some statistics early in the book that like blew my mind, particularly as it applied to women, but men aren't real far behind either. Yeah. Give us some of the data on this. Really, you talk about an epidemic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lack of feeling worthy in someone's life. It's at epidemic levels right now. I think the digital age has even made it even worse, probably, particularly for women. But give us some of the data on why this matters so much.
Yeah, men and women. And I think, right now, for anyone listening, if you could be crushing it, hitting career goals, doing everything right, have six-pack abs, whatever it is for you. Yeah. But if deep down inside, you still feel like you're not enough, it will affect every single area of your life. And so like right now, as we're speaking live, 80% of women don't believe they're enough. 75% of female executives deal with imposter syndrome. 91% of girls and women don't love their bodies, but 73% of men feel inadequate. And here's the thing is we can be really good at hiding it, but it does not mean it does not surface in every area of our life, our business, our leadership. When you believe you are fundamentally not enough and worthy as you are, like it is a lie. It is a lie that you can unlearn. And, I really wrote this book for every girl, every woman, every man, every person to literally learn what are the tools that I can actually apply to my life right now to believe I'm enough. Because Ed, in my life, like I worked really hard. I believed that if I did enough things, accomplished enough things, got enough attention, won enough awards, hit a certain number in my bank account, did what the world told me success looks like, that then I'd feel enough. And it was through doing so much of that and then literally sabotaging huge parts of my life and not knowing why, staying stuck and not knowing why. And it's because I didn't understand that I can have a whole lot of self-confidence, but if deep down inside I don't believe I'm enough, like that's what happens, right? We sabotage all these areas of our life. We stay stuck. We don't know why our business isn't doubling. We don't know why we're not happy in our marriage or in our career, and we think it's the other person. When underneath it all, if we don't learn how to build strong self-worth, it literally impacts every area of our life.
What's the difference then between self-confidence? So you're saying I could actually have self-confidence,
yes,
and still not feel worthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think you described me.
It's yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you described me. Go ahead, answer that. I want to hear this. This is really good.
Well, and I think that I'm excited for you to share. I'm excited to ask you about this in your life, Ed, because so many people know you, love you, they aspire to have what you have and to all of the things. And I think why they connect with you so deeply, in addition to that, is because you're willing to actually share what's happening deep inside of you.
So are you.
I think, here's the thing. So this is a huge, I always think of that emoji with the head exploding, right? Anyone listening right now, this may be a huge aha moment for you. And I always describe aha moment. I define it as like a moment when your knowing surpasses your conditioned belief system. An aha light bulb moment, right? This was one in my life after I thought I had accomplished it all and didn't understand why I still didn't feel enough. I learned that there is a massive difference between self-confidence and self-worth. Here's the best way I can describe it. And they're both very important in our lives, but they're very different. Self-confidence, while it's an internal trait, it's based so much on what's happening around us externally. It's how we assess our own skills and abilities, how we feel we're, stacking up against other people, our willingness to try and go for it. If we keep the promises we make to ourselves, how much of the world's definition of success that we feel we have, right? There's all the studies that show the boxer who wins the fight is automatically 30% more confident, right? Yeah. Confidence rises and falls. It's fragile. It's volatile. It fluctuates. But self-worth is actually the deep internal knowing that you are worthy of love and belonging exactly as you are. Not as you're achieving, not as you're winning or losing, not as you're, anything else going on the outside, but exactly as you are. And the kind of the way I compare them is self-confidence is your assessment and your abilities as a person. Self-worth is your belief in your value as a person.
Jamie, I got to tell you, I when you were writing the book the whole time, by the way, Jamie came on the show, I don't know, like a year ago, and I had excerpts from the book, and I kept telling you how incredible it was. It's different reading the whole book. It affected me much differently. And by the way, I want to be very clear. This book is not for women. It's for humans. Yeah. And it hit me differently. I think even I've conflated self-confidence with worth. Thinking if I became more confident, if I achieved more things, if I got, and I think I can tell you guys all truly that she's 1,000% right, that there's a distinction between the two, because I'm still working at this stage, and the book helped me, by the way. There's tools and tactics. There's lies in the book that we tell ourselves. Yes. She said something in the book that stood out to me. As I was reading and I was going in the room, I told you, and telling my daughter, Bella, this. And I realized at one point, I didn't need to keep telling Bella all these things. I needed to sit there with it myself. And I'm 52, and I've done a lot of work, as you know, and help a lot of people. In the book, you said, achievement doesn't lead to love or fulfillment.
Yes.
I think I'm like, you know what? If I just keep achieving things. If I just keep accumulating things, if I keep helping enough other people too, if I just help enough other people, it's a very different thing than worth. Confidence and achievement is very different than worth. What about you? I'm curious. Do you still struggle with any of this as kind of the expert who's written the book?
Every day. And it is a lifelong journey, but learning how to build my self-worth, for the first time in my life, I'm feeling fulfilled.
Good.
For the first time. And I want to share something you just said is so important, because so many of us believe this lie. We don't know it's a lie, but we believe, think everyone, with us right now, Ed, everyone listening and watching this right now, think about, has there been something in your life, a big goal or a dream where you thought, when I finally get that thing, then I'm going to be happy, then I'm going to be fulfilled, then I'm going to be enough. And maybe it's, a certain number in the bank account, or a certain job title, or when your company hits a threshold, or when you get married and have kids, or the 6-pack ab, whatever it is. And then you finally got the thing. Maybe it took you years to get it. You finally got it. And then what happens? You might feel excited for a year or a month or a few hours. And before you know it, you're back down to feeling like, I still feel like something's missing. I still feel like this isn't enough. And so then what do? We think, okay, I just got to achieve more. So then we work harder and harder and harder. And listen, to your point, while you're doing this, you're building a whole lot of self-confidence, which is important. A lot of times we're growing in that process, which is important. A lot of times we're serving others, which is so important. Those 3 things are all very important. But none of this constant hustling, achievement, accomplishment, all the things, none of that actually builds self-worth. It builds a lot of self-confidence, but it doesn't build self-worth. And so here's the deal, y'all. Here is what low self-worth looks like in our life. And by the way, it can look like the man or woman crushing it with millions and millions of followers, or a massive company, or a whole lot of fame, or whatever your definition of success that you believe success is. It can look like that on the outside. But what self-worth looks like on the inside when it's low, okay? And see if you resonate with this at home, because a lot of people feel like, I don't understand why I'm hitting a plateau in my business. I don't understand why I feel stuck. I don't understand why I feel like unfulfilled and like something's missing. So see if one of these boxes, if you check one of these boxes, because here's what low self-worth looks like in our life, even if we're crushing it on the outside, right? If you have super low self-worth, what it looks like is you stay stuck. You're stuck and you don't know why. You know you have a book inside of you to write, but the words aren't coming. You know you have art you want to put out in the world, or this wild business idea that might be so innovative, and you don't know why you're not sharing it, or why you're not going for it, or why you haven't registered the domain, right? Because in our life, and this is across the board, I'm going to start hitting this table. I'm going to get so excited. Ed, every time, over time, we do not perform to the level of our potential. We plateau at the level of our self-worth. And this is in your career, your dreams, your hopes, your ambitions, your relationships, all of it, right? I talk about this a lot in Worthy, in the book, where I say, like, we don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. We don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. So if you have low self-worth, like, it looks like, why am I stuck in my life? Now, if you have medium, a little bit more self-worth, here's what that looks like. And maybe this applies to someone listening right now. It looks like, okay, you believe you're worthy enough to go for it, so you go for it. But you don't quite believe you're worthy enough to get it, so you sabotage it. Right? If you're someone who goes for things, and say you finally meet that amazing partner, and you don't know why, you F the whole thing up, or you put them in the friend zone, or you're somehow not attracted to them, and you just think, it's because we attract what we believe we're worthy of. Right? So if you just have like low to medium self-worth, you'll go for things, but you'll either sabotage them, or you'll just miss out on getting them, and you don't know why. If you have medium to high self-worth, here's what that looks like. That looks like we go for the thing, and we actually get it. We accomplish it. We believe we're worthy of it. But when we don't have super high self-worth, we get the thing, but we still feel like something's missing.
Amen.
We still feel unfulfilled, and we don't know why. Everyone in the world can tell us we're amazing, but deep down inside, we don't think we're enough. So we keep thinking we got to get more, because if we get enough, we'll finally be enough. If we achieve enough, we'll finally be enough, right? If my body fat gets low enough, I'll finally be enough. All of it's a lie. None of it leads to self-worth.
Holy Spirit's flowing through you right now, just so you know. It's awesome to watch. You're in the flow zone. Holy Spirit everywhere. Can feel it while you're talking. I just want to say that to you as your friend. Like, you're in it.
You're going to make me cry. Ed, you know this. I've never said this out loud before in public, but I don't feel like I wrote this book. Like, this book came through me. And I think in our life, because you know my life, that I have accomplished a whole lot. But I've also, even after selling my company for $1.2 billion cash, I had a lot of confidence, but I did not have a lot of self-worth yet. And I didn't know and I sabotaged things. And this book, I'm getting emotional because honestly, I think about every girl, every woman, every man out there who right now is going to just keep striving for all this stuff and not realize that if they just learn the tools to be enough exactly as they are, they become more fearless and go for things even more. This doesn't curb feeling strong self-worth and enough exactly as you are does not curb your ambition. Okay. It gives you more ambition, right? There's this lie that we believe that, if I feel like I'm enough and worthy of love and belonging exactly as I am, I'm going to lose my edge. I'm going to lose my ambition. No, actually, when you realize, wait, if I fall flat on my face, if I win, if I lose, it might affect my confidence, but it does not touch my self-worth. My self-worth is unshakable. Then that's when you become fearless. That's when you actually become more ambitious because you don't care about the outcome because you know it can't rattle you, right? So building strong self-worth, it's the foundation. Your confidence is the house you build upon the foundation. But that house is only as rock solid as the foundation of self-worth you have under it that then equates to your level of fulfillment and also your level of fearlessness in going after the things, the dreams on your heart, your potential, your calling, the person you're born to be.
Oh my gosh. Like, first off, everybody, I just want to step out of this because if I won't remember because I'm so dialed in. But if you go to worthybook.com/Ed, you can qualify to get coached by Jamie and I on a coaching call with us and also get the book. And I just highly recommend you do that. So I have to tell you how this applies with me. Number one, in my baseball career, when I went away to college, I always held a little bit in reserve. I worked hard. None of my teammates or coaches, I don't think, would ever know I didn't give it everything. But I still have nightmares to this day about not making it in professional baseball after all that I've accomplished. And I've evaluated later in my life, any of you right now that aren't giving it everything you've got in a relationship or in a business or something, take this page out of my book and what Jamie just said. I'll give you the application of two things he said. I've evaluated it and I left a little bit in the tank, almost like, did I do it so I'd have an excuse later? Like, why did I? Just a little bit. There was more in me I could have given. And I'll regret it the rest of my life. No matter what I achieve, that was an opportunity and a moment in my life that I didn't max out. And the truth is, it's because I didn't think I was worthy of it. I just didn't. And it showed up. And I think after that, I went, you know what? That's never going to be the case again. I'm going to achieve. What I went to work on was my self-confidence, not my worth. And so I became a very self-confident man. And then I achieved. And where the worthiness thing shows up for me, just so the audience knows the areas that it can show up, I do think I'm worthy of wealth. I produced it. I do think I'm worthy of feeling some happiness and joy in my life. I actually have that. For me, the worthiness thing shows up in love. I give love to all other people. But in my own life, in my quiet moments, I don't allow myself to feel it very often. Even from people who truly love me. I don't allow myself to feel it and experience it on a deep level, not the way that I should. And my evaluation in reading your work just this last week again was like, that's because I don't think I'm worthy of it. And so I won't allow myself to feel that. I'll give it, but that area of my life, feeling loved, I think just because of the way I was raised or whatever it is, I just don't feel like I'm worthy of it. And yet when I read the book, I learned tools on how to begin to change that. So I want to tell you that it profoundly affected me, someone that you know very, very well. But did that show up for you too, the love part of it? Because obviously you produced a lot of wealth, a lot of success, a lot of notoriety. But it was the love part in my life, like just feeling loved, that I never allowed myself, and still don't most of the time, to experience. That's where it shows up for me.
And I know, obviously, I won't call this out here, but I know also when that can look like keeping friends in our life that don't love us back the way we love them, that don't show up for us. Right? You and I both have done that. Also, I just want to say this, that, you know, a lot of your audience might know these parts of your stories from your book, The Power of One More, from other areas. When you were growing up, you were the one that had to love everyone else. You were the one, Ed, that like took care of your family. You were the one that so many times had to be the man of the house. You were the one that had to see, is my dad going to enter the key and I'm going to hear it and know within a second he's drunk right now and I'm going to have to protect my mom. Like you were the one giving all the love. And so, you know, for those of us who've gone through tough experiences, which a lot of us have in different ways.
Yeah, you have for sure.
Learning to love ourselves right now. First of all, it will impact every relationship in your entire life, because whether you're talking about your romantic partner or your kids or your friends, your depth, all the studies will prove this, your depth of connection and love with them between you and them can only be as strong as your depth of love and connection with yourself. And we have this lie that tells us, oh, loving myself is selfless, or it's some kind of woo-woo stuff, or this or that. Oh, Like doing the work to learn to believe you are lovable, worthy of love, and actually loving yourself and connecting with yourself. So many of us go through the entire day. We know how to like deliver for everyone else, please everyone else, make everyone else happy. We don't even know how we feel. We don't know how we feel. We're not connected to ourselves. We don't believe we're worthy of connecting to ourselves. It impacts every other relationship. And then we end up feeling lonely. Yeah. So there's a lot of us that can serve and give and show up the way we think everyone else needs, but we actually feel lonely, and we don't realize we're robbing them of a depth of connection if we don't do the work on learning to believe we're worthy exactly as we are and learning to love ourselves, right? And there's a lot of tools in the book, Worthy, on how to do this. There's a whole section on self-worth shortcuts. And this has shown up in my life a lot.
Give us one of them right now. And I'm going to ask you about the disconnection thing, because you asked me last night, what are your favorite parts of the book? I think it probably surprised you what some of my favorite parts of the book were, but one of them is on disconnection.
Yes. Because
I'm familiar with it, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But give us one little tip from the book.
I will. Okay. Before I forget to say this to you, I just have to say it. I want to thank you for being so generous, because when people go to worthybook.com/ed, if you pre-order, you're getting a coaching call live with me and Ed.
Yep.
Everybody who does that at worthybook.com/ed is getting a live coaching call with Ed and me. I'm so excited about it, but I know how precious your time is, and I just want to say thank you for that.
I'm honored to do it.
Okay, so 2 things. Actually, why don't I just go there?
Okay.
I have never said these words out of my mouth ever publicly in my life. And you now know this story. My mom, who passed away last year, knows this story. That's it until this book comes out. I never knew growing up why I didn't feel enough. And I mean, I learned later in life I was adopted. I learned all the things. My parents worked a ton. I was alone a lot. But I believe the lie that achievement equaled love or attention equaled love. And when I was 18, I started working in a health club in sales. And I was a receptionist. And then what happened is that all the salespeople got so busy, they asked me to start doing club tours. It was this health club with 8,000 members. I'd do the club tour and I'd have to present the membership pricing at the end. I started crushing it in sales, right? And all of a sudden, I was outperforming the sales team. Now, you're promoted in this health club not based on your qualifications or if you're even mature enough to handle it. It's pure numbers. All they care about is who's making the most money. So I get promoted to sales. And then I start crushing it in the sales team, and I get promoted to assistant manager, eventually manager. All the people reporting into me are like twice my age, and they're people that have been selling their whole career.
Here we go, you guys. You can believe this.
There's one guy in particular who, Ed, let me just, I'm going to be embarrassed saying this out loud in front of you.
Great.
Okay, he was the first guy in my life where I was like, he is so hot. By the way, he's double my age. Okay, he's double my age, and he's dating a number of women, and he literally looks like an A-list celebrity to me. I'll never forget one moment. I'm standing there at the front desk closing another sale, like recording it. He walks by, and you know that moment when someone holds eye contact with you, and that moment just shifted, and you're no longer just friends. In this case, I was his boss.
You were his boss when he's twice your age.
And he's twice my age. And also, I knew he was dating half of the other. He was dating so many women. At the time, I had a lot of confidence. I was crushing sales. My numbers were top every week, right? But I did not have a lot of self-worth. And we started dating. I fell in love. I was in love. And I eventually said, let's just be exclusive. And he's like, no. No. And I was like, okay, I had to decide in that moment. Do I want to love him and betray myself? And I chose to. And because again, we're talking about careers, business, all the ways self-worth it can impact your relationships. It can impact every area of your life. And I literally was just crushed every week over and over and over and over, and stayed in that relationship. And eventually I decided to leave and move off to college. So now we break up. I go off to college and I'm waitressing at Denny's. I get a job waitressing at Denny's. These are the words I have never shared.
Do you believe the lie that you should only be seen when you're happy, right? Do you ever hide all your other emotions and maybe put on this sort of fill in your name uniform of the person you feel like everyone wants you to show up as, even though inside you might be feeling a whole lot of other things? Well, here's the deal. We live in a culture right now that sort of has these two juxtapositions. We're seeing all of this heartbreaking, horrific news happening all the time. And then we have good vibes only signs everywhere. And, I'm so much and such a proponent about positivity and about choosing the meaning we attach to things and all that. But it's also so important to know that you are worthy of being who you truly are, saying how you truly feel, meaning what you say, right? And showing up and believing you're worthy of showing up as who you really are in your friendships, in your relationships. It's so important, because every time we put on a mask and pretend to be somebody else, every time we hide the messy parts of our life, every time we think we should only be seen when we're happy, and then we show up inauthentically, whether it's in a friendship or in our job or in a relationship, on social media, doesn't matter where it is. Anytime you show up inauthentically, you are actually telling yourself you are unworthy of being who you truly are and feeling what you really feel, right? And it starts to chip away at your self-worth. And self-worth is everything, because in life, we don't soar to the level of our goals and dreams. We stay stuck at the level of our self-worth. We don't rise to what we believe is possible. We fall to what we believe we're worthy of. And part of building really strong self-worth is identifying and unlearning all the lies that lead to self-doubt, and then igniting, waking up and embracing all the truths that wake up worthiness. So in my book, Worthy, there is an entire chapter. There's a whole section on the lies, by the way, unlearning the lies that lead to self-doubt. And one of those lies is, I should only be seen when I'm happy. And what does that look like? That looks like we might desperately want connection with a friend, but we wait to call them because we just don't want to burden them with our problems. Or we don't want to lower their vibration, or we don't want to bring them down. So then we hide, we feel lonely, and then we either put a mask on and call them and act like everything's great, or answer the call when they call, act like everything's great. Or we just wait until we have something positive or uplifting or great news to share with them. As a result, loneliness is at an all-time high. In fact, right now, 75% of us, right? You look at studies, 75% of us say that we'll only show our happy or positive emotions, and we'll literally hide or bury the negative or other, perceived negative emotions. I love the quote by Glennon Doyle that says, being human isn't about feeling happy, it's about feeling everything. And learning to know that you are worthy and that you are enough to feel everything is so important. Showing up as who you authentically are, fully you, is actually the only way to create a true human connection with another human, a true connection, right? We have all of these sort of false, unfulfilling connections that we might feel on social media, or we might feel if we're showing up as only part of who we are, but not all of who we are. And again, I said this a minute ago, but every time you show up inauthentically, you are telling yourself you're not worthy of being who you are. So it does slowly chip away at your self-worth. It's so important to know you are worthy of all of your feelings. They're all valid. The positive ones, the negative ones, the times when you just need to vent and have someone hear you, the times when you feel heartbroken, the times when you feel insecure, right? We all feel those. And we're kind of in this society where we're wearing these good vibes only shirts, and they're super cute. I have a few. But when we're only wearing those, we start to think that we're not worthy of showing up unless we're only feeling good vibes. And that's just not true. It is so important right now, today, to make the decision. Well, first of all, just be aware of it. Like, am I only showing up when I feel like I have something positive to share with someone? And then am I feeling alone or hiding who I am or not calling the friend back or not answering the text or not answering the call or not answering the email or declining the invitation when I feel like I'm just not in that positive state? And I don't want anyone to see me in anything other than a positive state. There's a recipe for loneliness. So today, just to kind of do a check and go, am I showing up for my true friends, the people I trust, the people I love, as all of who I am? Am I sharing times when I'm down and times when I'm up? Am I sharing how I really feel and saying what I really mean? And if the answer is no, decide if that's an old story, an old lie you want to unlearn, that you are only worthy of showing up when you're happy. Because it's a lie. You're worthy of showing up exactly as you are, right? And then today, make that decision to take one step. You could just take one small step forward of deciding, I'm going to call a friend up who I trust. I'm going to actually share what I really feel. Or I'm going to share, I'm kind of insecure today. Or I'm kind of down today. Right? And one tip, and I talk about this, and I go in deep in a chapter in Worthy called I Shall Only Be Seen When I'm Happy, the lie, and how to unlearn that lie. But one of my friends, Glow Atano, talks about how she does what she calls a capacity check, right? Have you ever had, because by the way, listening can actually be depleting. Studies show it's depleting on the listener. So listen, I'm a good listener, by the way. Listeners are heroes. My husband's a great talker. I'm a great listener. Listeners are heroes. It's also depleting to listen. And so one tool as you start to implement this in your life, where you start really sharing how you're really feeling, the good, the bad, the insecure, the excited, all of it, right, is what's called a capacity check, what Glow, my friend Glow, calls a capacity check, which means, when you call someone up, or it could be your partner at home or your friend, you just ask them like, hey, I have something kind of, serious I want to share or heavy on my heart. Do you have capacity right now for a conversation? And then they might say yes, they might say no, they might say, oh, you know what? I'm super going a million miles an hour right now, but can we talk tonight at 6 p.m.? Like, you just kind of check, do you have capacity for a conversation that's not just happy? You know what I mean? And doing that capacity check is huge. I actually started doing it in my marriage. Sometimes when my husband Paulo will come up to me, I'll say, okay, do you want to just vent? Do you want me to give you advice? Do you want me to just listen? Here's how much capacity I have right now. And if you need more than that, let's pick a time, kind of thing. And I'll ask him the same thing. And it's been, huge for us. And, if you don't want to start asking this right away in your relationships, you could ask others to do it for you. Can you, check in with me and say capacity check? But if you aren't ready to do that yet, you can just start doing it, right? You can just call them up and say, hey, do you have capacity? Kind of a thing. But if you have a friend that maybe is always calling you and wants to just dump all the time, well, that's when you can kind of start to implement those boundaries. You can start by just setting the example yourself and just saying, hey, I want to share something with you, but I want to do a capacity check. Do you have capacity for this conversation? And then you kind of ease into it and you eventually ask them, hey, would you mind just checking in with me if I have capacity for something this heavy right now? And you just kind of build trust and you build connection and you speak your truth. And, it's the most beautiful thing that I know for so many of us who are raised people pleasers, or who believe, especially girls and women, we're taught like, just smile, just be quiet. Like, I have so many memories growing up of being a little girl, and I'd walk into a supermarket, and if I wasn't smiling for a second, some adult would say, smile, like as if that's my job. We're taught we should only be seen if we're happy. It's a lie, and it's a lie that leads to disconnection. It's a lie that leads to us showing up inauthentically and chipping away at our self-worth. So the time to unlearn that lie has come, because you deserve to be seen when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're insecure, when you're lonely, all the emotions, the good and bad. You are fully worthy of every single one of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock this house and welcome to the stage, Jamie Kern Lima!
Jamie Kern Lima! every single one of us has had someone tell us we're not enough. Every single one of us has had someone say words to us that hurt.